welcome back. This is the State of the Fan address, streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief Nick Villano, and our special guest, Chico Resch of the Devils Hockey Network. Guys, take two. Take two. Let's do this all over again. Welcome to the podcast, Chico. How are you, my friend?
Everything's good. Everything's good. Minnesota is scorching hot. As you know, there's forest fires up in Manitoba and Ontario north of us. So it's been kind of hazy, and that's been a little bit disconcerting. Not so much for us, we're breathing the foul air, but for some of the small communities up there on the different Indian reserves and native reserves, some of their towns have been burnt. So, it's a mixed bag. It's summer and things are going well, but it seems that there's some real problems in terms of forest fires out west here. And I don't think you have them out east, but you certainly are receiving some of the smoke we're sending your way. I know that.
Well, as they say, where there's smoke, there was a lot of smoke around the Devils this week. They were the talk of the town in the NHL, and a lot of rumors surrounding them. Obviously, one came true. We've heard a lot of rumors in the past of the Devils, but finally, the Devils get their guy, Dougie Hamilton. It looks like that he completely transforms this defense. And Chico, we were talking earlier about how you think this was the one main thing that was wrong with the team going forward. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this team as currently constructed? They've made a lot of strides on defense.
Well, what Tommy Fitzgerald and Dan McKinnon and his whole staff did is really beyond my hopes last spring when we ended. I thought if we could, if Kevin Ball could improve, and we could even get one defenseman, which, then Graves came along, and that got me fired up like you guys a little bit more. And then you start hearing Dougie Hamilton, that he might be a possibility. And the way I found out, I'm sitting at the counter there and not really thinking much about it. They made a good try, I'm sure. But Diane says, "Do you know Hamilton? You know this Hamilton?" I said, "I know the Broadway play Hamilton. You talking about that?" She says, "No, Doug Hamilton." I said, "The Devils didn't just sign him." She said, "Yes, they did." And so, like you guys, I thought, wow, that was an incredible sales job. Because you can imagine, $9 million is a lot of money. I get it, but Dougie Hamilton was sought after by a lot of teams that would have given him that. So for the Devils to be the winners, and I did some history, he's led them in defensive scoring the last 3 years. It wasn't one flash year. I think he's learned a lot. He's been around. He's been traded. He's had some things said about him earlier in his career. I think we're getting a very, very mature Dougie Hamilton, both off the ice as well as on the ice.
So when it comes to, you talk about the offense, and the Devils have some offensive defensemen in Subban and Severson and Dougie, and then in Ty Smith on the left side. How important is that in today's game? You've been analyzing this game for a long time. You've seen how it's changed over years. How important is it to get offense from the defense?
Well, it's paramount now, but Nick, I have to correct you. I hate to do this. We're not going to put PK Subban and Damon Severson in the offensive defenseman category. I'm sorry. PK was at one time. I'm kidding you, but those guys will just stay at home and play solid defense, because we're talking power play here. Can you imagine? Now you got Ty Smith on the left side, and you got Hamilton on the right side. Unless they switch, he can shoot the puck. He's found how much fun it is and how rewarding it is to score goals. He knows offense now, so they're going to be the number one power play. And then you're going to go 5-on-5, where we got two lines now, both with Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier they've got some nice wingers, but they don't have like a real bona fide sniper yet. Hopefully, Sharon Govich. We don't know. I don't know who it'll be. But here's what I do know. If you aren't as strong in those positions as you'd like on the forward wings department, your defense can really add. You imagine now, Jack Hughes gets it in the corner, dekes out a couple guys, finds Dougie Hamilton all alone on the other side. Bang, he can blast it home. On the other side, now you got Ty Smith. You know, he's only going to get better. Like, he walks the blue line and gets his shots through as well as anyone. So now you're penalty killers, and you can't overload on one side or the other. You can't cheat covering one defenseman over the other. I mean, this was a game changer because what Dougie Hamilton can do on the power play. And 5-on-5, like I say, I can't wait. I mean, I'm hoping, my heart's thumping when I think of what he could bring. And I only say it reminds me of a couple of years ago when the Devils signed PK or traded for PK. And I thought PK could bring that. Well, he hasn't been able to. It's not necessarily all his fault. It's not like PK never tries. He tries hard. The game kind of passed him by. And so his offense has been very limited. But with Dougie Hamilton, he's right in his prime. And I got to tell you, like, he's going to – if you're a player in that room, you all of a sudden got more excited. If you're a forward, we're going to score more goals. I'm hoping he comes with a defensive awareness, although we do have, like, Graves, who's a good stay-at-home. Hopefully Damon Severson will understand he's more of a stay-at-home defenseman now. And, you know, whether it's Ball or whoever it is back there, if we protect Mackenzie Blackwood and Jonathan Bernier, the way teams protected Carey Price and Vasilevsky in the playoffs, we will win some big games. You have to understand, guys, and you know that because you guys, you know I'm not lying, but the goalie needs to know going in that he's got guys that can step up and take away the back door and help him on a 2-on-1, and he can play more aggressive. And I saw it in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think the goalies did play well. Vasilevsky's win is the Conn Smythe, but it's all in unison with how their defenseman was protecting him when he was vulnerable. And from what I heard from people up in Montreal, that core of Montreal defensemen, unfortunately Weber won't be part of that, looks like, next year, but they played almost each man rose to the highest level they had ever played, and it got them to the Cup final. So again, so many layers of added importance and winning ingredients to what the Devils will have now with Dougie Hamilton.
So I want to kind of follow up on the point you just made because I'm intrigued. You've had that goalie mind for forever, and you played behind some great defenses, and you've played behind some not so great ones. And we don't need to name names, obviously, but I just want to know what is the mindset going in as a goalie, knowing that you have a team that's struggling on the blue line against what the mindset is going into a game, knowing you have an elite defense. What's the difference in mindset for the goaltender?
Well, it's a completely different mindset that you wouldn't know unless you really thought about it. Maybe if you were on another team or you're partnering up with someone or whatever. Maybe I hear some people who just work in an office and they got a pod of 3 or 4 people and there's a weak link there, or sometimes there's 2. And one person is being counted on to carry the whole load and be the go-to person. It chips away at your confidence. You get down. But so for a goalie, you can say, okay, I can play great, but I cannot make every save, not every backdoor save, not every one-timer from the low slot, not, on a 2-on-1, I need help. I need them to keep the puck to the outside. If you can do that, if you can trust your D, then what happens is you become more aggressive on the shots that you should stop. for instance, you see a guy coming down the wing, and you're saying, well, could I trust my D that the puck's not going to get over to that wide guy? If I can't challenge that guy with a puck, even mentally,
Mhm.
and never mind physically. I got to hang back because I don't know that he's going to be able to stop that pass. And but when you hear, okay, he can, or you feel he can stop that pass, then you could say to the guy with the puck, bring it on. I know you can't pass it. I don't think you will pass it. So it's going to be like a one-on-one. Instead of a two-on-one, it is just a one-on-one. So it just grows and grows for a goalie when he knows that he can trust his defense to take away. I would say next year, if I'm correct, I don't know how many scores. Let's say the Devils this year averaged, this is a rough guess. Let's say 50, let's say 18 good scoring chances against. Some games it's
Mhm.
12, some games it's 20. But let's say if they average 17 or 18 good scoring chances against, I would be very disappointed if this new defensive core doesn't cut 18 down to like 13. Cut off 5 good scoring chances. And guys, if you can do that, I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but especially under pressure, those are game breakers because as you guys know, you score 3 goals. You average 3 goals in the NHL, you're going to win. You average 2 goals, you're going to lose. If you give up 3 goals average or more, you're going to lose. If you
Mhm.
give up only 2 goals or less, you're going to win. So we're talking a fine, fine margin. And, and the coaching's going to be different. Lindy Ruff's going to probably, have a few tweaks and wrinkles in his defensive as well as offensive approach with the new defensive group. So it just goes on and on, Nick,
Mhm.
but it just affects the whole team's confidence and the belief that they're gonna win. They're gonna beat the Rangers. They're gonna beat the Islanders. Not like, oh, we got to play unbelievable just to beat them. No, we got the right stuff that can take on any of those teams. And with a great goaltending, uh, we have behind the crease, we're gonna be a contender. I mean, I think that's going to be the mindset of the players, especially the goalie.
Yeah, absolutely. Going in, and I kind of want to go on the other side too. With that is what's it? For years the Devils' backup situation has just been not great. Schneider was hurt for years, and Kincaid, he turned out to be a one-hit wonder, and then Crawford retired on us just in the middle of the training camp. Now you got Jonathan Bernier. Fitzgerald spent big to bring in the backup. He's getting paid more than Mackenzie Blackwood actually is. Um, how does that change things, knowing that you now have a tandem? I mean, you watched the goalies last year. There was days where you had Wedgwood and he was decent, but Dell never seemed to really find it. There's days the guy in net you knew you had to pick up, and I don't think that the Devils are in that position. So what does that do for the team?
Well, you're absolutely right, Nick. First of all, Bernier, I come in, I'm making more than the hotshot rookie, but that happens. I mean, he earned his contract. The other thing with Bernier is he was beaten down in Detroit. I mean, it wears on you guys. He's only 32. He's going to have one big spurt left. That's what I found after 32. You're going to have a year or two where you're really fired up. You're going to have a big spurt, and I think he's coming in um, with the idea that I got to show that I'm better than Mackenzie Blackwood because I'm getting paid more. It was a big splash to get him, and the interesting thing is he did perform well. As you know, in Detroit. So you're going to have, I think, a whole regenerated goaltender in Bernier. And then you're going to have McKenzie, who now really knows that other guy, if he gets hot, he could play 7, 8 games in a row. And I might be sitting on the bench. So McKenzie's going to have to, find a way to drive himself a little bit more. No, we are in terrific shape. I mean, imagine now, guys, you play the Rangers and Islanders back to back. You got 2 guys throwing either one. You're going to be in good position. It's just a game change. Excuse me, a game changer. And so I think, though, I got to give the fans credit. What have we made the playoffs? 1 out of 10 years. I think management, ownership, I think they all realize enough. These fans are at their wits' ends. They've hung in there. They're loyal. But how long can we keep talking about the future? Potential. I'm thinking potential last 3 years. That's it. It's like, I'm expecting Jack Hughes to take a jump. No more, he's had his opportunity to be a potential player. Now he's got to be a prolific player. Same thing with a couple other guys that have been down around 3 years. So, but I didn't think that Tommy Fitzgerald and his staff could pull off what they did. Like we were laughing before. Tommy Fitzgerald sold me on New Jersey, although I love New Jersey and I lived there for so long. He didn't have to sell me, but he made that statement about New Jersey. I thought, wow, who wrote that for Tommy? The New Jersey Chamber of Commerce? What statement? But you guys know it. And then if Marty Brodeur and Scott Clemenson, and I'm hearing maybe Marty because Bernier is French as well, he had an impact in him coming. Hey, it was a team effort, but I never expected in my wildest dreams that we would have gotten the quality of player that we did. Yes, we had to spend some money, but I know from eating, you go out and you get what you pay for. You go to a good recognized restaurant, you got to pay a little more, but you leave satisfied. And that's what the Devils fans are hoping for. And that's what the ownership and let's give the Devils a season of enjoyment. And I see it here's what I would say. Okay, we could improve a little bit on the wings. We know that, right? I would like to. I wish we could have got one more sniper, maybe two, one each for Nico and one for Jack. But okay, it didn't happen. We're going to hopefully have some maturity of the guys that are here. But overall, I look at our team, and I'll break it down and say, why are the Rangers better than us? Why are the Bruins better than us? Well, they have a couple top end players. But my point is the argument of we're just not good enough, which I truly believe last year wasn't from lack of effort or coaching or trying. We just weren't good enough to win consistently. Well, this year, that's not an excuse that we can play. And so, I know you guys are excited and you guys are doing a great podcast. And last year, you had to talk about things that, oh my, were difficult. But this year, you're going to have some good stories to talk about on this podcast.
Well, I could tell you, Chico, doing post games, we did all 56 post games last season. And there were some games, especially against the Rangers, it was quite tough to create content and try to keep everybody positive and laughing, through that. But do you remember a time in Devils history, Chico, because you've been team since day one?
Yes.
The defense. This has got to be the biggest defense size-wise that the Devils have ever had. And you're talking some tall meat and like Dougie Hamilton. I think he's 220 plus pounds. Also Ryan Graves as well. Do you ever remember a time of the Devils defense being this big and solid?
No, never this tall. I will say I will still take the 6'1" Scott Stevens over most 6'5". I know what you're saying, Sammy, and I get it. And you make a valid point that in today's game where it's contain and block out and poke check and get your stick and knock down and intercept those cross ice passes, the reach is huge. This team isn't going to be banging bodies and knocking people into the boards and stuff. Nobody really plays like that, but it's in front of the net where your big body, if it gets there first, how's the attacking forward going to get positioned to screen, tip, get a rebound? And last year, that was a problem. And so the size is really, really important, but how you use that size is even a
True.
bigger asset. And remember, I heard a lot about size in the draft, and I was talking to people, and yes, size is important, but hockey sense, knowing how to use your size, or if you're little, we got Corey, not Corey Stillman,
Chase Stillman.
was it Corey Stillman in our second
Chase
pick in the
Stillman?
first draft?
Yes, Chase Stillman.
Yeah,
His
what
son.
was it?
Chase?
Yeah,
Chase Stillman?
Hold it, the volume went way down. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Yeah, but my volume's up.
It was Chase.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay. Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Okay, it's just a little muffled. But with Stillman, some people were saying this and that about, I mean, there might have been somebody better and all that. I'd say, yeah, it would have been nice if he was 6'5", but this guy scored at every level. His grandfather played in our organization, actually. When we first started, Bud Stefanski was a player up in Maine for us. He played one game for the Rangers. So that's Stillman's grandfather. Then his dad was a sniper. Now, you can't tell me that he and his dad didn't have long conversations about hockey sense, how to get open, when to come late, when to, slide in here and there. And then, of course, Stillman, his dad won 2 cups, so he could help him how to be a team player. I wish we had more right now on the wings, but I think it's coming. And the order of business was the defense. And again, I'm trying to think. It kept PK Subban's contracts up. Smith's going to be here. Graves is going to be here. I don't know exactly what Damon Severson has, but the other thing is I like this core of 4, those 4 defensemen. They're going to be playing together for a while. So I'm just saying it's looking like a gorgeous day on the Jersey Shore right now for me. When I think of the Devils.
Before we wrap up, I'm just curious what you talked about the winger, and the Devils are tied to some wingers. Brandon Saad decided to go to the Blues, even though we made an offer to him. But they're still tied to Tarasenko. They're still tied to a couple other players. If they don't get a winger, you still think that this team can be competitive as currently constructed?
That's a great question. I mean, here's the other game changer here, because the way the season goes. I definitely think there's no question that we are good enough to get into the playoffs. Not even a question. Not going to be easy, because the Rangers with their new coach, they're going to be a much better team. Gerard Gallant's one of the best coaches, and then on the other side of the river, the Islanders have a great coach. So it's not going to be easy. But here's what I'm thinking. If we can just stay competitive, and we're getting by, and then we come trading deadline, just say we would have been crazy for us to rent a player the last few years, but then maybe you could get a winger for the stretch drive. I would be, of the guys left, I'd be a little leery. Like Tarasenko, I like him, but when you get in trouble, Nick and Sam, in the hockey business, any business, when you remember him at his prime, you got to remember him injured. You got to remember him losing a bit of a step. You got to remember age on wear and tear on that body. We wouldn't get the Tarasenko from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is there anybody else, as we're just brainstorming, is there anybody else that you guys have come up with that you thought might be a dark horse? we could sign
I mean, the two dark horses
offensively?
would be trades. They would be Timo Meyer from the Sharks and Philip Forsberg of the Predators are the two dark horses.
Yeah.
But they're going to cost a lot.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be great. You just got to pay. Are you trading an Alexander Holtz or a Dawson Mercer for that? I don't know if it's doing that. So that's where I'm kind of, maybe he does stay the course when it comes to offense, or maybe he takes a flyer on somebody like a Tarasenko or another guy because wingers. It's easier to take a flyer on a winger than it is to take a flyer on like a Subban who's coming off a back injury and you're hoping that he's still the same. But I think he's big game hunting. Yeah. So I think that we're going to ask for the moon.
Well, yeah, you're right, Nick. You don't want to give up any of the young guys that you're earmarking to be in the lineup. I just don't think it's worth it because we're not going to challenge for the Stanley Cup next year. If you could get a player for a year, but that's tough. I'm sure Tarasenko's not just going to go someplace for a year. The good news is, in some ways, PK Subban's salary will be up next year, and that will free up a lot of money if you needed next year to go out and get a winger, a bona fide scorer. It's going to be a bit of an issue, but could they make it work? I mean, that enthusiastic young group of forwards, Pavel Zacha, I thought he made a big jump. You look at it this way. The Islanders played as a team, and their goaltending and defense and their defensive mindset is why they got as far as they did. I mean, yeah, they have some players, but with Lee getting hurt, they still made it to the semis. You know what I mean? Like, we can win a different way. We can't maybe win it all. So I would just stay the course and be very careful with your draft picks. And I'm not telling management anything. I'd be very careful with the money because even though you're going to get some money off PK's contract, you think of the guys that are coming up, the young guys that are going to come out of the first 3 years contract, and they're going to jump up millions. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Chico, this will be just my final question. Just out of curiosity, you got the Devils in a good spot. You got Dougie Hamilton. Is this the biggest free agent signing this team has made ever? You've been around this team the entire time. Have they ever made a free agent signing as big as this?
Let me say this to you, guys. Potentially it is. But remember, I am an absolute wait-and-see guy. My heart's been broken. Oh, I broke my own heart thinking I was going to do this or that, and it didn't quite work out. I really believe that Dougie Hamilton has all that. But, for me, I got to see it. But yes, this potentially, if this works out the way we all hope, and especially Doug, he's hoping it works out too. This would probably be the biggest, would have been the biggest impact since probably trading for Scott Stevens. I know that's a whole different ballgame, but I'm trying to think one other player who had a long-range impact on the Devils. And Dougie Hamilton, 7 years, he could have that. Scott Stevens had that, and now he came over from St. Louis. So yeah, I would say so. But I mean, even with Scott Stevens, I give Lou Lamoriello a lot of credit for just insisting on him. But it didn't make them an instantaneous Stanley Cup winner. But let's be honest, guys, you got to look at the foundational building blocks of winning a Stanley Cup. And with Dougie Hamilton, I think we've laid a cornerstone. And that's what I'm hoping for. And through the course of the year, when we're talking, we will then have a better idea if indeed this was the greatest free agent signing the Devils have ever made in their history.
Well, Chico, that's all we got. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate you and sticking with us through the technical difficulties. Thanks to the fans still watching at home, stuck with us. This is great insight. I'm really happy that we got to talk to you. And, you know, you've been looking at these teams for years, so you got me excited again. You got me thinking that maybe I can let my guard down a little bit.
Yes, that's what I want to say to you, Nick and Sam and the fans. Don't go back to the couple of years ago when we signed PK and then, you know, all that hype. And this isn't on PK, but it was way over the top on the expectations. Mm-hmm. This time, it's much more solid because Dougie Hamilton has proven it the last 3 years, and his style is the same. Like I said, PK, the game style changed on PK. It wasn't his fault. It all changed. And he got caught in it, and then his game just wasn't what it was. But and then we can't even forget, you know, Graves. I mean, Graves is coming with something to prove. Kevin Ball showed me some stuff last year. He's saying, I'm making this team. You know what I mean? And Ty Smith, he and Jack Hughes did some magical things, but you think they were satisfied? Not a chance. So my point is, we're three. We three are excited, but I know the players because I've been on teams like that where the management did something that the players really believe in, that it's going to be a difference. And like I say, the stars of the season could be Tommy Fitzgerald and McKinnon and their staff, because if these things work out the way we all hope, this would have been to me perhaps the greatest restructuring of a team in the history, at least in my recent history, because they reconstructed the whole defense. It wasn't just plugging in one guy. And as we know, defense is still the deciding factor when when the game's on the line. So yeah. I'm very, very excited. I mean, I'm even thinking of Lindy Ruff. He's sitting wherever he is in the off season thinking, oh boy, I got some stuff to work with this year. I can put in some new wrinkles. I can add some things and change some things. And there just isn't anybody who isn't fired up for the right reasons. It's not like it was smoke and mirrors. You know, we have some really solid components now to our team. We probably need I'm thinking about 5 more components to win a Stanley Cup. But at least we're getting there.
Absolutely. And thank you, Chico. And also visit pucksandpitchforks.com. And my article will be out telling you how Adam Larson single-handedly rebuilt the Devils' current defense. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com for that. Thank you, Chico. God bless. Till next time, let's go Devils.